Good day, everyone, and welcome to lecture number 2 of Cricket South Africa's Level 2 umpiring course, brought to you by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Tom Mokorosi, and as usual, my batting partner for today is Abdullah Steenkamp. The meeting protocols are on display for those of you who are attending for the first time. The regulars will all know the protocols, and I just would like to remind everyone that we are presenting only those laws that are examined in Cricket South Africa's Level 2 exam, and only parts of those laws which are presented. And we would like to ask you to keep your questions related to the content that we are presenting in today's lecture. If we get to lecture number 6, which is our revision lecture, and you still have not been able to ask a burning question on cricket umpiring or anything cricket related, then we will give the opportunity to everyone in lecture number 6 to ask any and all questions related to the laws of cricket. When the Q&A session starts, attendee microphones will be activated. If you have not asked your question in the chat box, then you can raise your virtual hand, turn on your microphone and your camera if you wish to do so, and wait until prompted to ask your question. We will probably present for plus minus 45 minutes today, and our Q&A will last as long as you ask questions. You are welcome to leave at any time. Do remember that if you don't get to ask your question, make sure you post it into the chat box. We will answer it, and you can watch it on the meeting recording. Every one of our lectures is recorded and will be posted on YouTube the morning after each lecture. Commitment is to have it up and the link sent to all of you on email and our WhatsApp group by 10 a.m. South African time tomorrow. Before I get to today's laws, I just want to remind everyone of a few logistics of the course. Today we'll be covering laws 13, 17, 20, and 21. I will do the first 2, and Abdullah will do the last 2. As mentioned, our revision lecture, which will be on Tuesday, the 22nd of April. There you can ask any questions if you have not asked your question related to the content that we are presenting in laws, in lectures 1 through to 5. The lectures are free, but an exam fee applies for anyone who would like to write the exam. 350 South African rands or $35 US, and the exam fee is payable on or before Wednesday the 30th of April at 6 p.m. South African time. Now, this is where I need all of you to listen very carefully, please. There are 2 exam date options. This does not mean that you get 2 chances to write the level 2 exam. You need to choose one of the 2 options. You will either write on Saturday, the 3rd of May at 9 a.m. South African time, or you will write on Monday, the 5th of May at 6 p.m. South African time. You cannot write at Saturday, 9 a.m. and then think that if you do not pass, you will get a chance to rewrite on Monday, the 5th of May. The marks will only be available on Monday, the 19th of May, and exam scripts will only start to be marked after the 2nd exam sitting. Now, there are 2 platforms on which you are able to write the exam. For all members of umpire associations in South Africa, those umpires need to write at their home association. So Western Province Cricket Umpires Association members will write at Newlands Cricket Ground. The exact meeting room will be confirmed closer to the time. They are not allowed to write online using the exam.hostexam.net website. I've seen the likes of Adnan Ahmed, Bradley Crotts, Jaden Williams, and apologies if I've missed any other Western Province Cricket Umpires Association members on the lecture today. But if you are a member of WPCUA, you cannot write the exam online. You need to come to Newlands on Saturday, the 3rd of May, or Monday, the 5th of May, and write with us physically in the meeting room that will be made known to everyone a week before the exam. If you are a member of Boland Cricket Umpires Association, you will need to write at Boland Park in Paarl, and you will need to ask your head of training when the next level 2 exam can be written. If you are a member of Central Gauteng Lions Umpires Association, you will need to write the exam at the Wanderers Cricket Ground in Johannesburg. So please, you all know if you are a member of an Umpires Association in South Africa or not. If you are, you need to contact your head of training or your training coordinator or anyone of your executive committee members, and then you will ask them when you can write level 2. For those of you in South Africa but who are not members of any umpires association in South Africa, then you are all welcome to write online using exam.hostexam.net, the website which has proctoring software that we make use of. And there was a brief introduction of that portal, exam portal, in our first lecture. In lecture number 6, the revision lecture on Tuesday, the 22nd of April, I will go through a click-by-click demonstration of how to register and also to log in and to clear the ID check with a proctor for the exam and how to start the exam online. So most, if not all of you, have not used that portal before, so please make sure you tune in for lecture number 6 to see exactly how the online exam works for level 2 and for level 3. So without further ado, let me go into tonight's laws. I will be taking you through law 13 and law 17. A reminder that we are not going through every single law and we're not going through every single detail of the laws that we are going through. So for law 13, the innings, we are only focusing on one subject, which is the toss. Law tells us that the captains shall toss for the choice of innings in terms of who shall bat or bowl first. And where does the toss take place? A lot of people, in terms of what we see on television, assume that the toss has to take place alongside the pitch because that is where it commonly does take place. But no, law tells us that the toss can take place anywhere on the field of play. So once you are over the boundary, you can toss anywhere inside of the boundary. Who needs to be present at the toss? one or both umpires need to be present at the toss, and obviously both captains need to be present at the toss. What are the timings that the toss can take place? According to law, the toss shall not take place any earlier than 30 minutes before the scheduled or rescheduled start of the match, nor later than 15 minutes before the scheduled or rescheduled start of the match. As soon as the toss is completed, the captain of the side winning the toss shall notify the opposing captain and the umpires of his or her decision to bat or to field first. Once notified, the decision cannot be changed. So a couple of points to note here is that if and when a captain wins the toss, they cannot then say, hold on, umpire, I need to check with my coach if he wants us to bat first or to bowl first. Give me 2 minutes, I'll get back to you. No, law tells us that the winning captain shall notify the opposing captain and the umpires of his or her decision to bat or to field immediately. Okay. And the second point to note here is that once the captain has made the decision whether to bat or to bowl first, they cannot then change their mind. Okay, the decision is final. I have been asked what happens if a captain says we want to bat first. Oh, no, sorry, umps, we want to bowl first. As a captain, you should not be making those types of mistakes because it is one of your prime duties as a captain to be at the toss and to be part of it and know exactly what you're going to do and say if and when you win the toss. So maybe a little bit of common sense would prevail there if the correction is immediate and it can honestly be seen that it was a slip of the tongue rather than a change of the mind, then we will allow that correction. But if the change of decision is a minute or two later, then we will not allow for that change to be accepted. The next law that I am presenting is law 17, the over. And in the over, we are looking at two subjects. The first is the number of balls that constitute an over. I'm sure you all know that 6 legal deliveries will constitute an over, and each over needs to be bowled from alternate ends. So at Newlands Cricket Ground here in Cape Town, South Africa, we have the Wynberg end, which is the south end of the field, and we have the Calvin Grove end, which is the north end of the field. So whichever end the fielding captain decides they will start with, 6 balls will be bowled from that end, and then the next over will begin from the opposite end, and 6 balls will be bowled to complete the second over of the match from the other end. When is an over started? Law tells us that an over has started when the bowler starts his or her run-up, or if the bowler does not have a run-up, then when he or she gets into his or her bowling action, and that is when the bowler's back foot lands for the first delivery of that over. That shall be considered the start of an over. Even if the bowler breaks down in his or her run-up when starting the over and needs to be replaced, that bowler will have in terms of statistics, be known as having bowled at least part of that over. Okay, so in a limited overs match of 50 over innings, where a bowler has a maximum of 10 overs that he or she may bowl, as soon as he or she starts the run-up of the first ball, that over will be counted as an over bowled by that particular bowler, even if it has to be completed by another bowler. That bowler who completes the over will also be added as one over in his or her bowling allotment. What happens if an umpire or the umpires miscount an over? Law tells us that if the umpire miscounts the number of valid balls in an over, the over as counted by the umpire shall stand. So if we, as the two on-field umpires, call over after 5 deliveries have been bowled, then that will be the end of the over. If we count incorrectly and it turns out that 7 balls have been bowled in the over, and then only we count, and then only we call over, that 7th ball will count, and any runs or wickets that occurred in that delivery, that 7th delivery, will count towards the score. Okay? It will always be valid if allowed to be bowled by the bowler's end umpire. So even if a 7th ball is bowled in an over, the runs will count, and if a wicket falls, the wicket will count. You will have very upset batters if a wicket falls on the 7th ball of an over, but according to law, if you've allowed a 7th delivery to be bowled in an over, that ball will count. Any runs scored off that ball will count. Any wickets that fall will count in the total score of the match. Now, what happens if we have miscounted and we allow a 7th delivery to be bowled, and that 7th delivery is a no ball? We all know that if a no ball is bowled, then a subsequent delivery should be bowled because that no ball needs to be re-bowled. But law tells us that if we discover that that 7th delivery was a no ball, and we are now informed, or we now figure out between us two on-field umpires that that was indeed the 7th delivery of the over, then law tells us that we must call over after that 7th delivery has been bowled, even if it was a no ball. There will be no subsequent free hit. The first ball of the next over will definitely not be a free hit. The batting side have already benefited from an extra delivery. Maybe they scored runs off that 7th delivery. And of course, they've benefited the 1 run for the no ball. If, like I said, a wicket fell on the 7th delivery, that will also stand. So please, ladies and gents, let us be aware at all times the number of balls that we are counting with our partner so that we do not miscount. In level 1, we went through all the signals that we help each other with on the field to count. And it's especially important to repeat how many balls are left to your partner when there is a no ball in an over, when there's a wide in the over, when there's a dead ball in the over, or when there's a wicket in the over, or when there's any stoppage in play, like an injury to a player. We normally, if there are no incidents in the over, good umpiring practice, especially at club cricket level, is to signal 3, 2, and 1. So 3 is merely a halfway signal across the waist. Some umpires just put their arm and leave it there along the waist. Some signal to make the movement obvious to their partner. 2 is up there, and 1 is either here in front of you or down at 45 to the side of your body. If you signal 3, 2, 1 in a normal over, and if you confirm the number of balls left in the over, when there is a no ball, a dead ball, a wide, a wicket, or a stoppage in play, then you should not have trouble counting correctly. But remember for the exam that if more than 6 balls are bowled in an over, that 7th ball will be counted. If any runs are scored, those runs will stand. If a wicket falls in the 7th delivery, that wicket will stand. If a no ball or a wide is bowled on the 7th delivery, and after that we realize that 7 deliveries have already been bowled, then we do call over. That wide or that no ball will stand. The penalty for a wide or a no ball will stand, but we will not re-bowl that delivery. I hope that is clear. It is often confusing to many, but please don't over complicate it. Read the law and apply it as written in front of you for the exam. That is all the laws that I'm presenting this evening. I'm now going to hand over to Abdullah to take us through Law 20 and Law 21. Over to you, Abdullah.
Thank you so much, Tom. Good evening to you and good evening to the rest of the attendees. So I'm covering 2 laws this evening. Firstly, the dead ball law, and then secondly, the no ball law. So under the dead ball law, and according to the laws of cricket, and as the law states, the ball becomes dead or dead ball. So what that means is anything that happens after the ball became dead is irrelevant, null and void. We'll go through various scenarios when the law say the ball becomes dead. But what I want to emphasize is that as soon as the ball becomes dead, anything that happens after that moment is irrelevant. So according to the laws, there are 8 instances where the ball automatically becomes dead. So we'll go through them. Something happens, and as soon as it happens, the ball automatically becomes dead. But good umpiring technique is, even though the law tells us the ball automatically becomes dead, please call and signal dead ball, because many a player, they don't know the law. So it will definitely help you and the players. So as soon as it happens, you just call and signal dead ball to inform everyone that the ball is now dead, and anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So 8 instances where the ball automatically becomes dead. And then there are 14 instances where the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. And that call and signal is to inform everyone that something happened, and from the moment the umpire called and signaled, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So in the level 1 exam, there were multiple choice questions. You had to fill in the missing word. But in the level 2 exam, there's much more writing to be done, and there's definitely a question in the exam with regards to dead ball, when it becomes automatically dead, and when the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. Let's just first cover when the ball automatically becomes dead. So the ball automatically becomes dead when it finally settles in the hands of the keeper or of the bowler. Now, so this is for the umpires. Finally settling is a decision that the umpires alone needs to make. They need to judge when the ball is finally settled or not. I'll give you one or two examples. Let's say the bowler delivers the ball, batter shoulders arms, and it goes through to the keeper. Keeper then takes the ball cleanly. Keeper then keeps the ball in his or her hand for a few seconds, let's say 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, there's no time limit to this. The Lord just guide us by telling us it's for the umpires, and they need to decide when the ball is finally settled. So there is no time limit to this. You need to look at the situation and then decide, is that ball finally settled in the keeper's hands? If yes, that ball then automatically becomes dead. Same principle will apply to the bowler. So you, the umpires, needs to make that call whether the ball is finally settled or not. When a boundary is scored, ball automatically becomes dead. So as soon as the ball goes over the boundary for, let's say, boundary 4, ball then automatically becomes dead. As soon as it goes over the boundary on the full for boundary 6, that ball is now automatically dead. When a batter is dismissed, as soon as that batter is dismissed, ball automatically becomes dead. So as soon as the batter is dismissed, ball dead. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. You'll often find it, and I played league cricket in Cape Town for many a year, and we as league players, we didn't know the law, and we often tried getting 2 batsmen out of one ball. So what would happen is the batter would nick the ball to second slip. Second slip would take the catch cleanly. Second slip would see the non-striker at the bowler's end outside his or her grounds. Second slip would then have a sigh at the bowler's end to run out the non-striker. Yes, in other sports like baseball, you can dismiss more than one batter off a single pitch. But in cricket, because the law tells us that as soon as a batter is dismissed, the ball then automatically becomes dead. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. Like in my example, as soon as the catch is taken by first slip, the catcher's got control over the ball and his or her movement, ball then becomes automatically dead. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. That's why trying to run out the non-striker, irrelevant. Why? The ball is automatically dead. Fourth instance where the ball is automatically dead, it becomes trapped between the bat and person of a batter, or it becomes trapped between items of his or her clothing or equipment. Ball automatically becomes dead, whether played or not. It lodges in the clothing or equipment of a batter or the clothing of an umpire. So as soon as the ball lodges in the clothing or equipment of the batter or umpire, the ball automatically becomes dead. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. In the next slide, I'm going to show you an example of where the ball lodged in the clothing or in the equipment of the striker. And as soon as that ball lodged in the equipment, the ball automatically became dead, and anything that happened after that is irrelevant. And you'll again see the incident that happened. Players don't know the law. The ball lodged in the equipment, and they still try to dismiss the striker. But we'll get to it in the next slide. Another instance where the ball automatically becomes dead. Under Law 24, when a player returns without permission and touches the ball, as soon as that player that returned without permission and that player touches the ball at that moment automatically becomes dead, and anything after that is irrelevant. When illegal fielding happens under Law 28, as soon as the illegal fielding happens, the ball automatically becomes dead. I mentioned earlier good umpiring technique, because lots of players, they don't know the law. It's good umpiring practice to actually call and signal dead ball, just to inform everyone, especially the players, that the ball is now dead. Like an example, player returning without permission. Soon as that player touches the ball, call and signal dead ball to inform the players that the ball automatically becomes dead. Ball also automatically becomes dead if it hits the helmet that was placed behind the keeper. As soon as that ball hits the helmet that was placed behind the keeper, ball automatically becomes dead. Again, players don't know the law. Good practice. As soon as that ball hits the helmet that was placed behind the keeper, call and signal dead ball. Because from that moment that the ball hit the helmet, that ball automatically became dead, and anything that happens after that is irrelevant. Again, back in my playing days, and this happened where the ball would hit the helmet behind the keeper, the ball would ricochet towards, let's say, the third man boundary. The striker and the non-striker, we saw the ball ricochet to the third man boundary, and we started to run. We thought, we could run, but the law is quite clear. As soon as that ball touched that helmet that was placed behind the wicket keeper, that ball then automatically became dead as soon as it touched the helmet. And anything after that is irrelevant. Even if you run 10 runs, will not count, because the ball automatically became dead as soon as the ball touched the helmet. And lastly, when it comes to ball automatically becoming dead, as soon as the game is done, as soon as the match is concluded, ball automatically becomes dead. So these are 8 instances where the law tells us if this happens, the ball automatically becomes dead. But good umpiring practice is, because we players, we don't know the laws, and I played the game for more than 25 years at club level. I thought I knew the laws. Only once I did my level 1, 2, and 3, I realized I actually didn't know 95% of the laws. So good umpiring technique. Soon as it happens, call and signal dead ball. Even though the law tells us the ball automatically becomes dead, no need to actually call, but good umpiring technique is to call and signal to inform the players that the ball is now dead, and then anything that happens after the ball now became dead is irrelevant. Again, in the exam, this is a popular exam question. It's not going to be a multiple choice or fill in the missing word like in level 1. You're going to have to write. So go through this. It's a popular exam question: when the ball automatically becomes dead, and when the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. I mentioned earlier, when the ball automatically becomes dead when it lodges in the clothing or equipment of a batter. Just look at this video.
So yes, it got stuck in the pad.
So there's an example of the ball getting stuck in the pad. You can see the wicketkeeper is trying to take the ball out of the flap. The batter's trying to prevent the keeper from taking it. Players don't know the laws. As soon as that ball lodged in the pad of this batter, that ball at that moment automatically becomes dead, and anything that happens after that is irrelevant. There are instances where the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. And this calling and signaling of dead ball is to inform the players that as soon as that call is made, the ball is now dead. And anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So what are those instances where the umpire needs to call and signal? And again, this call and signaling is to inform the players that the ball is now dead, and anything that happens after this call is irrelevant. Firstly, if the umpire needs to intervene in the case of unfair play, before intervening, umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. After calling and signaling dead ball, now you'll intervene and now you'll address the unfair play. Second instance, where umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. If there is a possible, and the emphasis here is on serious injury to a player or the umpire. Emphasis on serious. Again, this is a judgment call. You need to make that call. In your opinion, if there is a serious injury to any player or umpire, you need to call and signal dead ball. Once you've made that call, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. But again, the emphasis here needs to be serious injury. An example of, in my opinion, of a serious injury, let's say the batter gets hit, bowler bowls a bouncer against the head of the striker and hits the striker flush on the head. That for me is an example of a serious injury. Call and signal dead ball. But again, it's a judgment call. You need to look at the situation and then you need to ask yourself, do I consider this as a possible serious injury? If yes, call and signal dead ball. If you think it's not a serious injury, like example, let's say the fielder feels the ball and it goes against the finger and the player goes, I don't think that's a serious injury to the fielder. Yes, the ball went against the finger. Yes, the finger is a bit sore, but not a serious injury. Only in a serious injury, you need to intervene. And how do you intervene? You call and signal dead ball. And then as soon as you made that call, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. Umpire needs to call and signal dead ball if you need to go and consult your colleague. Before moving over or going over to consult your colleague, please call and signal dead ball first. Get the ball from the players. Now you go over to consult your colleague. Let's say example, the ball goes low to first slip. You're not sure whether it carried because the bowler was blocking your view. You now want to go in to consult the strikers in umpire to ask his or her opinion whether he or she could see whether the ball clearly carried. So before going over to your colleague to consult, you need to call and signal dead ball. Good umpiring technique is as soon as you call and signal dead ball, ask the fielding side for the ball, and now you go over and consult your colleague. Fourth instance, where umpires need to call and signal dead ball to inform the players. If one or both bails falls from the striker's wicket before the striker has had an opportunity of playing at the ball. The emphasis here is the bail, one or both bails needs to fall from the striker's wicket. And if it falls from the striker's wicket, either umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. Either umpire can call it. Usually your strikers in umpire is in the best position to make this call, but there's nothing stopping the bowlers in umpire if he or she sees clearly that either one or both bails fell from the striker's wicket. And if it does, intervene. You need to call and signal dead ball. Again, emphasis, striker's wicket. Another instance where the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball If the striker is not ready for the delivery of the ball, and if the ball is bowled, the striker needs to make no attempt to play it. And there is a condition, the umpire needs to be satisfied that the striker, there was a good reason for the striker not being ready, and that ball to not count as one for the over. An example, let's say as the bowler is running in, striker is ready to face the ball, a butterfly flies in front of the striker. Striker sees the butterfly. Striker is now not ready. Striker now pulls away because of the butterfly. The law allows for this. Striker then needs to pull away. There's a good reason why the striker is now not ready. But then striker now needs to make no attempt to play at the ball. You've now pulled away because the butterfly now flew in front of you. So now by pulling away, you now do, the striker should not be playing at the ball. Even if that ball is now delivered, the striker needs to leave that ball. If the striker now, ball now gets delivered, the striker now attempts to play at the ball, the striker now brings him or herself back into the game. The striker is now eligible to be dismissed from that delivery. So if you're not ready, you need to pull away. And if you pull away, do not play at the ball if the ball is delivered. If that is the case, no issue. Like in my example, butterfly distracted the striker. Striker wasn't ready, pulled away, didn't play at the ball. No issue. Ball not to count as one for the over. There are times where the striker can be distracted by a noise or a movement while preparing or receiving a delivery. An example of this, as the bowler is running in, someone walks in front of the side screen. That's an example of the striker being distracted by a movement. I had an instance of a month or two ago where, as the bowler was running in, a helicopter came low across the ground. Striker was then distracted by this noise and this movement of the helicopter. An example, striker was distracted, call and signal dead ball not to count as one for the over. Another instance where the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball are under law 41, where there is a deliberate attempt to distract the striker before receiving the ball, or deliberate distraction, deception, or obstruction of either batter after the ball was delivered. In these two instances, umpires needs to intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. And as soon as they've intervened, they've made that call, anything that happens after that call is irrelevant. Another instance of umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. As the bowler runs in, the bowler accidentally drops the ball before delivering it. Call and signal dead ball. Bowler accidentally dropped it. Call and signal dead ball. Bowler will pick it up. A bowler will then go back to his or her mark to bowl the next delivery. If a bowler throws the ball towards the striker's end before entering his or her delivery stride, umpire needs to intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. This is not allowed as per the laws. The bowler is not allowed to throw the ball towards the striker's end before entering his or her delivery stride. Yes, the bowler is allowed to throw the ball to at the non-striker's end, the bowler's end, to try to run out the non-striker if the non-striker left his or her ground early. That is allowed according to the law. But what is not allowed according to the law is, as the bowler is running in, the bowler, before entering the delivery stride, the bowler then sighs at the striker's end, and let's say trying to run out the striker. That is not allowed according to the law. You need to intervene. And how do you intervene? You need to call and signal dead ball. Another instance where you need to call and signal dead ball. Ball does not leave the bowler's hand for any reason other than if the bowler tries to run out the non-striker. So the example, let's say the bowler runs in, gets into the delivery stride, back foot lands, go through the delivery motion, but the bowler goes through the delivery motion, the arm goes right over, but the bowler doesn't release the ball for whatever reason. The law tells us if the ball doesn't leave the bowler's hand, you need to call and signal dead ball. Another instance where you need to call and signal dead ball, if you are satisfied that the ball in play cannot be recovered, you need to call and signal dead ball. An example of this is, and the ball needs to be in play, and while in play, it cannot be recovered. This is not referring to, let's say, a ball that gets hit for 6 by the batter. It gets hit out the stadium, let's say, into the river, ball gone. This is not that instance. This is an instance where still in the field of play, while the ball still in play, the ball then cannot be recovered. I'll give you an example. And it's actual example that happened to me. I did a first class game in Namibia about 8 years ago, no, 9 years ago. On this particular field, there were about 10-15 meters from the boundary edge, there were meerkatte, meerkats. I'm not sure, I think that is the English word, meerkats, close to about 10-15 meters from the boundary, and there was about 5 or 6 holes with these meerkats in their nest. Time and again they would come up, put their heads above the hole, look at a bit of play, and put their heads back in. So these holes were about 10-15 meters inside the field of play. So what happened was the ball then got hit, and it went to the boundary towards these meerkat holes, and the ball went down the hole. So this is an example of, so what happened? The ball went down the hole. None of the fielders was going to put their hand in that hole to trying to retrieve the ball. So this is an example of where the ball going down the hole, ball cannot be recovered, because I don't think anyone's going to put their hands down that hole. You don't know what that meerkat is going to do. This is where you as the umpire needs to intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. So as soon as you've made that call, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So that's an example of what happened to me. I've heard examples of snakes inside the field of play, where ball goes inside the hole. There was a snake close by. None of the fielders wanted to go anywhere close. Another example, ball cannot be recovered. Intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. Another instance where you need to call and signal dead ball. If the umpires consider that either side has been disadvantaged by either a person, animal, or object within the field of play. Let's say a dog running onto the field of play, as an example, or even one of the spectators running onto the field of play. Law tells us if umpires consider either side will be disadvantaged, intervene. Soon as that dog touches the ball, call and signal dead ball. As soon as you've made that call, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. However, the law gives the umpires a bit of leeway, where they tell us as the umpires, if we consider that the ball would have reached the boundary, in my example where a dog ran onto the field, so the ball goes, the batter cover drives the ball, let's say, towards the boundary, and it goes at a rapid pace towards the boundary. The dog then runs onto the field, intercepts the ball, let's say 5 meters from the boundary. If you, the umpires, consider that if it was not for that interception of the ball, of the dog, that ball would have actually gone for 4. The law gives you leeway here. The law tells you that you can actually signal boundary 4, because in your opinion, if it wasn't for the intervention of the dog, that ball would have actually gone for 4. You can, the law allows you to signal boundary 4. Also, the law wants the striker at all time to have a part of his or her person, whether grounded or raised, within the pitch. The law does not want the striker to leave the pitch. The law wants the striker to at all times be on the pitch, or at least have part of his or her person, whether grounded or raised, within the pitch. If the striker leaves the pitch to go play at the ball, you need to intervene. And how do you intervene? You need to call and signal dead ball. And lastly, you need to call and signal dead ball if you are required to do so under any of the laws that's not included above. An example of this, we know if a batter leg bye is not to be awarded. So if a batter sold his arms, let's say the ball goes against the pad of the batter, not offering a shot, and it ricochets to third man, the batter now starts to run. The law tells us upon completion of the first run, or if the ball reaches the boundary, either umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. This is just an example of where you need to call and signal dead ball, or in a law that was not mentioned in this 13 points that I've just covered. So just to recap, there are 8 instances where the ball automatically becomes dead, and yes, it's good practice to call and signal dead ball to inform the players, because lots of players don't know the law. And then there are 14 instances where you need to call and signal a dead ball. And as soon as that call of dead ball, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. These are very popular exam questions where, and it's not going to be multiple choice. They love asking you, name 8 ways how the ball automatically becomes dead. Name 12 ways how the ball, when the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. The last law that I'm covering this evening before handing over to Tom, and we're only covering one subsection under the no ball law, and that is, how can you be dismissed from a no ball? There are 9 modes of dismissals, and you can only be dismissed of a no ball 3 of those modes. What are they? First, hit the ball twice. Secondly, obstructing the field. And thirdly, run out. So these are, once no ball is called, these are the only 3 ways how a batter can be dismissed. Hit the ball twice, obstructing the field, or run out. That's why if an umpire calls no ball and a batter's bowled, batter's not out. Batter cannot be stumped of a no ball. Batter cannot be given out LBW of a no ball. Cannot be given out hit wicket of a no ball. Only 3 modes of dismissals when as soon as no ball is called, how either batter can be dismissed. And they are hit the ball twice, obstructing the field, and run out. And how I remember this, I just remember the letters H, O, and R. I call it OR. And OR for me stands for, H is for hit the ball twice, O for obstructing the field, and the R for run out. Tom, that's all laws I'm covering this evening. I'm now handing back to you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. And thank you to all the candidates who have posted questions in the chat box while we have been presenting. So I'm going to go through those first. Bradley Krotz, who's a WPCUA member, asks, are you keeping an attendance register? If yes, is there an adherence criteria to be able to write the exams? No, Bradley, we don't keep an attendance register. You do not need to attend any number of lectures to qualify for the exam. The only criteria to qualify for Cricket South Africa's Level 2 exam is that you need to have a Level 1 cricket umpiring certificate from a cricket playing country. Of course, a lot of people are studying their lectures on their own time using our YouTube channel to watch the lectures. So we cannot keep track of who is watching the lectures there, even if we wanted to. Sanju asks, what if the toss is taken at 9:30 a.m. with play supposed to start at 10 a.m., but unfortunately at 9:50 it starts to rain and play is rescheduled for 10:30 a.m.? Is it okay that we are now starting play more than 15 minutes after the toss took place? Sanju, no problem at all. If there's a rain interruption after the toss has taken place, it is out of our hands and play will start when ground weather and light conditions allow. So as long as you have scheduled a toss and it takes place earliest 30 minutes before the scheduled start of play or latest 15 minutes before the scheduled start of play, that is fine. If play is then delayed for whatever reason, not a problem at all. Basil asks, on the final settling of the ball in the keeper's hand, how then can this be applied in the case of Johnny Bairstow and Alex Carey in the Ashes 2023? Basil, we went into detail on that scenario in level 1, but for the benefit of those of you who were not with us in level 1, I will play that video and afterwards I will ask Abdullah to tell us why the umpires decided that the ball was still live, and as a result, the appeal for run out, or in fact stumping, was correctly given out. So I'm going to play the video first, and then Abdullah is going to take us through why the ball was not dead.
This was the incident that sparked the fire. Oh, now this is going to be interesting. Before the ball had been deemed dead by the umpire, quick-thinking keeper Alex Carey caught his English counterpart, Johnny Bairstow, napping. The stumping was certainly within the rules of the game, but whether it was within its spirit is now at the centre of furious debate.
If the shoe was on the other foot, I would probably just have to have a little think around the sort of whole spirit of the game and things like that. So, look, it's happened, it's out. Is it going to affect relations between the teams? Well, I can't imagine we'll be having a beer anytime soon, if that's what you're asking.
The Australian captain defended Carey's actions and the decision not to withdraw the appeal.
I thought it was totally fair play. That's how the rule is. I know some people might disagree.
You know, you see Johnny do it all the time. He did it day one to Davey Warner. He did it in 2019 to Steve. It's a really common thing for keepers to do.
So Abdullah, you've seen the video. Was the ball finally settled in Alex Carey's hand? Would you have considered the ball as dead? If not, why not? And why did the umpires allow the stumping to stand, please?
Thanks, Tom. So when it comes to the dead ball law, the dead ball law is an opinion law, and it can be subjective. Because sometimes one umpire looking at a scenario would have a different opinion to another umpire, because sometimes what's finally settled for one umpire is maybe not finally settled for another umpire. So it can be subjective. The law guides us, and you will need to just apply the law. You need to ask yourself, is the ball finally settled in the hands of the keeper? And if you look at this, it was literally a split second, not even a second. Just see, Alex Carey took the ball literally almost not even a second later. He threw the ball at the stumps. So in my opinion, that ball is not finally settled in the hands of the keeper. That's why, in my opinion, this ball is not dead. And that's why the umpires allowed this, because the ball was not dead. And Johnny Bairstow was given out correctly, stumped in this instance. So it can be subjective. You just need to ask yourself, looking at the scenario, is the ball finally settled or not? There's no time limit. The law doesn't give us a time. It must be 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. All the law tells us is you need to make that call whether you think the ball is finally settled or not. And in this scenario, and especially how quickly after receiving the ball in his hands, how quickly Alex threw the ball at the stumps. So for me, ball not finally settled. That's why I'm happy that this ball was not dead, and happy that Johnny was given out. Over, Tom.
Thanks very much, Dula. I see a couple of hands have been raised, probably to unpack that scenario a little bit further. We will come to the hands in the meeting room after we've gone through all the questions in the chat box. Next question is from Shiva. If the fielder fields the ball and there is no intent for the batters at the moment to run, the fielder has the ball in his hands for a couple of seconds and he returns the ball to the bowler. But the ball is not caught cleanly by the bowler and rolls away from the bowler. The batters, seeing the ball rolling away from the bowler, now decide to run. Is that a dead ball, Abdullah, or do we allow the run to stand?
Siva, you need to, when looking at the scenario, you need to decide whether you think that the ball is finally settled or not. If your answer to that question is, I think the ball is finally settled, the both batters and the fielding side cease to regard the ball as still in play. The law covers you, the law tells you, if that is your opinion, the ball is then dead and you should not allow the run. But if your opinion, you think the ball is not finally settled, you think that ball is still alive, and this happens, you can allow the run. It is up to you. You looking at the scenario as the bowlers in umpire, and you need to make that call. Is the ball finally settled? Yay or nay? Or did the fielding side and both batters cease to regard the ball as still in play? If that is the case, ball dead. If you think no, it's not the case, I think the ball is still alive, you can allow the run. It is an opinion law. It's your opinion. You looking at the scenario, and you need to make that call. It will differ from scenario to scenario. But you need to look at your particular scenario, and if your judgment call is you think it finally settled, or you think the ball is dead, you won't allow the run. Or if you think the ball is still alive, allow the run. It is your call to make when you're looking at the scenario. So there's no right or wrong answer. You need to make that judgment call, whether you think it's still alive or not. If yes, allow the run. If you think it's finally settled or ball is dead, don't allow the run. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. For me, in those scenarios, the most important is to judge the body language of the fielding side as well as the body language of the batters at the crease. If both the fielding team and the batters at the crease have regarded the ball as no longer in play, then you as the umpires should also regard the ball as dead. And as Abdullah mentioned, it is a judgment call which will differ from umpire to umpire, but use the body language of the players to guide you as to whether they feel the ball is dead or not. Gaurav has posted a long couple of scenarios in the chat box, and I've read through them, and it looks like it is to do with changing the agreed time of the lunch interval. Gaurav, that is not part of level 2's content that we are presenting. It is covered in detail in level 3. Not specifically for limited overs match, but for more day cricket. Please join us for level 3, and we will be able to take you through the changing of times for lunch intervals, as well as tea intervals, as well as the close of play. Hopefully we will answer your questions then. Shiva goes on to ask, what is the difference between the two cases in the dead ball law, 20.1.4, I think it is, Dula, and 20.1.5, with regards to the ball being trapped with the batter's clothing or equipment? Shiva, point 4 involves the ball being trapped between the bat and the batter's equipment or person. Point 5 does not include the bat, so it is just trapped in the batter's equipment or person. Okay, so the difference for me is that point 4 includes the bat trapping the ball between the bat and person or clothing or equipment of the batter. I hope that answers your question. Gaurav asks, can we call a dead ball for the situation which is not explicitly mentioned in the laws? So Abdullah mentioned that we call the ball dead when one or both bails fall from the striker's wicket before the striker has had the opportunity to play it. Gaurav wants to know, Abdullah, can we call the ball dead if the bails fall from the bowler's end before the striker has had the opportunity to play at the ball? And of course, this is if the bails have fallen off with the wind blowing them off, not because the bowler has bumped into the stumps.
So Gaurav, no, you will not call and signal dead ball if the bails falls from the bowler's in side, unless, and you'll often find it, if you see the striker gets distracted by it, and let's say backs away, now you can intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. I've often seen as the bowler is about to deliver, wind blows the bails off, the bowler then stops dead in his or her tracks. Also now intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. But I've seen many instances, and there's lots of wind here in Cape Town, in certain parts of Cape Town, where I've seen the wind blow the bails off. Batters didn't do anything. Bowlers delivered. Batters hit the ball. They started the running. No one said anything. I didn't intervene. I just let play go on. So you need to look at the scenario. But according to the law, you should not be calling and signaling dead ball if the bails falls off from the bowler's wickets. Only if one of both bails falls off from the striker's wicket, now you need to intervene. But there are times where you can intervene if the wind blows the bails off at the striker's end. Like I said, you can see the batters distracted by this ball and gives away, or the bowler stops in his or her run up. You can then intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. But if play goes on, batter hits the ball, they start running, bowler delivers, hits the balls, run, play goes on, you don't do anything, you allow play to go on, don't intervene. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula.
Sorry. Thank you, Abdullah. So just to add on to that, say for example, if there is a if both batters are taking a quick single and the fielding team is doing a direct hit at the bowler's end, but when the bails is already not there, so it is actually kind of a disadvantage to the fielding team, right? So what if the fielding team captain says that you should have called a dead ball, or how we should handle that scenario?
Now you can tell the fielding captain, the law tell me to call and signal dead ball if it falls from the striker's wicket. If it falls from the bowler's wicket, I don't need to call it. I can allow play to continue, and yeah. So yeah, it's just unfortunate. I can understand why the fielding captain would say it can be a disadvantage, because now there's a special way of putting that wicket down. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, you cannot intervene. If play continues, you'll allow play to continue, unless, as I said, you can see batter moves away, got distracted, or bowler stops. Now you can intervene. But otherwise, yeah, it's just unfortunate. Nothing you can do about it. Over.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Next question is from William. When umpiring a club game and the ball gets lost and a dead ball is called, can any good-looking ball be used as a replacement? Abdullah, you covered this in last week, Tuesday. Did we go through the ball law? No, that was in level 1. If you can just quickly tell William how a ball is replaced, please.
So, William, if a ball needs to be replaced, either, let's say, the ball gets hit out the stadium into the river, or the ball is, let's say, out of shape, or the seam now became loose, how do we decide on the replacement ball? The law guides us. The law tells us you need to, let's say there is a box of replacement balls. You need to go to that box of replacement ball and find a ball in that box that had similar wear and tear to the ball as it was just before the need for its replacement. So you need to go into that box and find a ball that had similar wear and tear. And that is the criteria that you need to look at when replacing the ball. That's why it's important that you regularly inspect the ball, especially after each wicket. Look at the ball, see the condition of the ball, just in case that ball needs to be replaced. You then more or less have an idea how the condition of the ball looks like, because when you need to replace the ball, you need to replace it with a ball that had similar wear or tear. That is the criteria that you use, and that decision is for the umpires alone to make. Batters don't have any say. Fielding captain, bowlers, fielding side has got no say on choosing the replacement ball. It's for the 2 umpires alone to make that decision, and the criteria that they use is similar wear and tear to the ball just before it got lost. That's the criteria you use. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Nagendra has typed a question and he has retyped it at the bottom. Was Johnny Bairstow out stumped, or was he out run out? Please give us the mode of dismissal, Abdullah.
So Johnny Bairstow was given out, or correctly given out, stumped, and the reason is it met all the conditions for a batter to be stumped. And what are those conditions? Wicket was fairly put down by the wicket keeper. That's the first condition. Second condition is Johnny Bairstow had nothing behind the popping crease. And the third condition is Johnny did not attempt a run. And because it met those 3 conditions, and those are the conditions for stumping, that's why Johnny was given out correctly stumped. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. One more for you. Conrad wants to know, Do you remember how many runs the batters ran in Namibia before you called dead ball when the ball went down the mere cut hole?
Yes, I do. 5. I only intervened after 5. 5. Initially, we were just standing, looking around. Are they going to get the ball? Are they not going to get the ball? The fielders were saying, can't remember the name. Johnny, come, put your hand there. Johnny said, no, why am I putting my hand down? And then I realized I need to intervene here because the batters were going. And at the time I actually didn't know they ran 5 because we were focusing on the ball. It's
Yeah.
only at lunchtime I went to the scorers, just curiosity. I just wanted to know how many runs they ran, and the scorers said they ran 5. Yeah,
And all 5 counted on the scoreboard.
they counted. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Dula. Alois asks, what if the bowler releases the ball, but it is clear and obvious to the umpires that the bowling arm was caught and disrupted? For example, the bowler's pocket resulting in a wayward delivery, wide off the pitch or a high full toss. Is it a dead ball or a no ball or a wide? So Alois, there's nothing specific in the law. What the law says in terms of a dead ball is if the ball drops accidentally from the bowler's hand before being bowled, then it shall be called a dead ball. In your scenario, the ball was delivered, even though the arm was distracted or it bumped into the pocket of the bowler. So how we are told to judge it as bowler's end or even striker's end umpire, because sometimes the striker's end will have a better view because you as the bowler's end umpire are watching the landing of the back foot as well as the front foot. So you don't necessarily see the entire bowling action in terms of the arm of the bowler. So if you as the bowler's end umpire are not sure if the bowler has completed his or her bowling action, then you can go and consult with your striker's end umpire. But the guideline is that if the arm gets to the highest release point or the expected release point, which is the highest part of the arm, and the ball is released at that point or after that point, then it is considered to be delivered. And of course, if the ball goes forward, okay? So if the ball goes forward and the ball left the arm after this point, okay? At that point or after that point, then the ball is considered to be delivered. So then if unfortunately it goes high full toss or wide or landing off the pitch, then we need to judge it as being delivered, and where it ends up will determine what we judge it as. A high full toss above waist height with the striker standing upright at the crease, we know is a no ball. A ball that lands off the pitch, we know is a no ball. That is before the bowling crease at the striker's end. And we know that a ball that lands on the pitch but ends up being wide of the striker such that he or she cannot play a normal cricketing stroke, that will be judged a wide. If, however, the ball slips out of the hand or leaves the hand before reaching the top of the bowling arm, then we will call and signal dead ball, even if that ball goes forward. If the ball goes backwards out of the hand of the bowler and never passes the popping crease of the bowler, then we will call and signal dead ball. That is a long-winded answer with a lot of different scenarios. Aloise, I hope that answers your question. Abdullah, anything to add on that point? Happy, thank you.
No, thank
Shika says, as a follow-up to the dead ball call, since the ball needs to settle in the hands of the keeper or the bowler, and since the ball settled in the hands of the fielder, some batters could take advantage of the ball rolling away and try to take a run. Shika, remember what I mentioned is let's forget about the ball being settled in the hands of the wicketkeeper or the bowler. Let's focus on, for me, the most important part of the dead ball law. If and when the fielding team and both batters at the crease consider the ball as dead, then we as the umpires should consider the ball as dead. So when that ball was in the fielder's hands for 3 or 4 seconds and the batters were not looking to take a run, then we consider it dead. So that throw to the bowler that goes past the bowler is irrelevant. We have already considered the ball as dead after it being in the fielder's hands for 3 or 4 seconds when the fielders were not looking to take a run and the fielders were not looking to run out the batters. I hope that answers your question, Shiva. Evan van der Merwe, one of our national panel umpires, he wants to take us through a dead ball call in the match in Pietermaritzburg where 2 of our colleagues stood. Dan, if you have got that clip, please send it to me on WhatsApp. I am checking my WhatsApps and I don't see that it has been sent. Mazizi, if you have got that clip, then we can also discuss it. I prefer that we discuss clips that we have videos of, so we can take some time at the beginning of our next lecture to discuss that particular clip. Right. Gaurav has put in a link to a YouTube video. I will share my screen and I will play it. And then we can all decide if it is a dead ball or if it is still live. Gaurav asks, is the umpire right in delaying the call of dead ball? Let's see the scenario first and we will collectively chat through it.
Catch has been taken. It's all happening here. They are delighted. The Kerala players and have they created history here. और इस मैच में इस शॉट के साथ ओ हेलमेट पर ये रूल क्या कहता है? ये रूल क्या कहता है? क्योंकि अंपायर ने अगर आउट दिया है तो यकीनन ये कुछ सोच समझ कर दिया होगा.
So Abdullah, you've seen that the striker has played a strong drive straight onto the helmet of the short leg fielder, and the ball has ricocheted towards the slip fielder who has taken a fair catch. Were the umpires correct in delaying the call and signal for dead ball? Was that short leg fielder seriously injured for us to call and signal dead ball? You want to take that one, please, Abdullah?
Yes, Tom. Again, it is an opinion law because the law do tell us if we think there's a possible serious injury to any player or umpire, we need to call and signal dead ball. So it is a judgment call. So looking at this scenario and looking at the body language of the short leg fielder, my opinion, I don't think that short leg fielder was seriously injured. I'm happy for that for that batter to be dismissed. Yes, we can follow protocols. Yes, I'll allow the dismissal, and we can get the physio or doctor or whoever on to while the next batter comes in to come have a look and at the fielder and do the necessary concussion protocols. So I'm happy with that dismissal. I don't think that was a serious injury to the short leg. Just looking at the body language of the short leg fielder after he was hit. That's my
Uh,
opinion, Tom.
Thank you. Just one more question on this. Say, for example, when the ball hit the fielder's helmet and he falls to the ground just like that, and the catch is also completed, but as an umpire, we even maybe lost in that moment and we didn't call any dead ball. So in that case, is that a wicket? Or else if we call dead ball, so that means it is a dead ball. So how? So I just want to understand what will be the case if it is a serious injury. How should we react to that?
Yeah, these things happens all so quickly. I mean, 99% of the time you will not be able to, to intervene, especially if it get hit against short legs, short legs helmet. So hit against the helmet, ricochets, catch gets taken. That literally happens a second, 2 seconds, at max. And many a times, I don't think the umpires will be quick enough to intervene. If you're quick enough and you do intervene and you've called and signaled dead ball because according to you there is a possible serious injury to a player and that call was made before the catch was taken. I mentioned earlier, as soon as you make that call, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So if the call gets made before the catch gets taken, that dismissal will not apply. But because it happened so quickly, ricochets, catch gets taken. I'll allow the batter to be dismissed. Yes, we will allow the fielder to get treatment. So it all depends on how that situation is handled. If you intervene quickly by calling, the batter will not be dismissed as long as that call is made before the catch is taken. But if not, I'll allow the dismissal and I'll let the fielder go through the necessary protocols. Over.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dula. Thanks, Gaurav. Next question is from Bradley. It seems that Johnny Bairstow made a mark with his foot indicating that he was behind the popping crease and then outside of his crease thereafter. Yes, Bradley, that's correct. Johnny Bairstow had considered the ball dead, but is it enough for only the batter to consider the ball dead? Do we as umpires then consider the ball dead? No. We need both batters at the crease and the fielding team to consider the ball dead for us as umpires to consider the ball dead. So that ball was definitely not dead because Alex Carey did not consider the ball dead, nor was the ball finally settled in Alex Carey's hands before he threw it to stump out Johnny Bairstow, as explained by Abdullah earlier. Right, I have come to the end of the questions and comments in the chat box. We have 3 hands up in the meeting room. First hand up, Sarda Habib. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Hi, Tom and Abdullah. Thank you. I have a 2-question quick in response to a dead ball. And one of them is that, as you mentioned that if the ball misses the wicketkeeper and hits the helmet behind it, and then the ball become dead. But if the ball is so fast and then cross the third man boundary area or behind the keeper past the boundary, so is it going to be a boundary 4 along with the dead ball, the 5 score? That's one question. And then second question will be, if a substitute fielder like pick up the ball without informing the umpire, right? The ball become dead, right? So does the umpire still call it after the dead ball a no ball, since a substitute fielder field the ball without informing the umpires? So those are my two quick questions on the dead ball.
Sarda, you mentioned no ball in your second scenario. Why is there no ball?
I was playing once, and then there was a substitute fielder field the ball without, he came into the field without mentioning or informing the umpires, and then the umpire call it a no ball just because there's a substitute fielder who field the ball without informing the umpires coming into the field, and then he touches the ball. So that's what I'm referring it to. Does the umpire call it a right no ball at that time, or is it the ball is dead and that's no more action is needed?
So Sarda, according to law, I don't know if the playing conditions differed for that particular match or tournament, but according to law, if a player comes onto the field without the permission of the umpires and comes into contact with the ball immediately becomes dead, and 5 penalty runs will be awarded to the batting side. Any runs completed by the batters, as well as the run in progress, if they've already crossed at the instant of the unauthorized fielder coming into contact with the ball, that run will also count. Inform everyone and report the incident. So there, according to law, there is not a no ball to be called and signaled in that scenario. Okay. Coming to your first question, if the ball goes through the legs of the wicketkeeper and hits the helmet that is placed behind the wicketkeeper on the ground, the ball automatically becomes dead. Anything that happens afterwards does not count. So even if the ball rushes to the third man boundary after hitting the helmet, we will not signal boundary 4. Why? Because the ball automatically became dead when it hit the helmet. It is good umpiring practice to call and signal dead ball, because not everybody will see the ball hitting the helmet behind the wicketkeeper. But technically, the ball became dead the moment that it hit the helmet. So even though you might call and signal dead ball after the ball has ricocheted over the boundary will not count, because the ball became dead at the instant of the ball hitting the helmet. I hope that answers your question, Sardar. Next hand up is...
I'm sorry, if you don't mind if I just interject quick. And then also that ball become dead, umpire signal a dead ball will count as a ball, right? So help me here. This is the last ball of the match, and then the batting side needs, say, like 4 runs to win the match. And then there is a fine short mid-off fielder. He has a like jersey sitting kind of folded, very, very thin, but sitting there. And the ball passes, it hit it. And then, of course, now the ball cannot go to the boundary. It will become a dead ball. The batsman score a single run, right? It was not there before the ball started. And then in the rush, the fielder drop it there, the ball become dead. Now, is it going to be a disadvantage that it could be a 4, but now just because it hitting the jersey, it's just a dead ball, only a single run, and then the fielding side wins the match? Can you help me out here a little bit?
Samta, where's the jersey? Is the jersey worn or is it discarded?
It was discarded, right? Like fielder, as in the last second or afternoon, they feel kind of warm or just throw it away on the circle, and then while the bowler is start running, and then the umpire did not like catch it at that time. It was on the ground.
Yeah, so Sabda, any piece of clothing or equipment that is discarded by a fielder or a member of the fielding team, if the ball hits that piece of clothing or equipment, similar to the helmet lying behind the wicketkeeper, it is 5 penalty runs to the batting side. So if the batting side needed 4 runs to win, those 5 penalty runs will be enough to win the match. Okay, next hand up, Mohammed Shakur. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours. Mohammed, please unmute your microphone and ask your question. It seems that Mohammed is unable to unmute his microphone. We'll go on to the next hand in the meeting room. Umesh Kadam, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is in Johnny Bairstow's case, if he would have acknowledged with the umpire that he has no intention to take run and he's just tapping the feet in the crease and then walking, then he would not been given out in that situation. Is that correct? If that is acknowledged with the umpire.
I mentioned a few times that both the fielding side and the batters at the crease need to consider the ball as dead. So it does not matter only what Johnny Bairstow thinks.
No, if he acknowledges with the umpire, like before, like he taps the feet, and if he tells the umpire, I'm tapping the feet, I'm not taking a run, I'm just walking, will that be, that's what my question is.
He needs to ask the fielding side as well if he can leave the crease, not just the umpire.
Okay. And the second question, if the ball is called dead ball, is it like counted as one of the balls, or is it like it has to be re-bowled?
Umesh, it depends on the scenario. There are certain instances when the ball becomes dead, or when the umpires need to call and signal dead ball, where the ball needs to be re-bowled. There are also instances where the ball becomes dead, or the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball, where the ball counts as a legal delivery in the over. We have a slide in our level 3 presentation which tells you which dead balls need to be re-bowled. You can join us for level 3 in June once you've passed level 2, and you will find out exactly which dead balls need to be re-bowled.
Tom, can you hear me?
Okay.
Tom?
Yes, Mohammed.
I'm audible? Yeah, I went to the bathroom. Apologize.
Go ahead.
This concerning dead ball, umpires call and signal dead ball when one or both bails fell from the striker's end wicket before the striker has an opportunity to play the ball. However, the bowler enters his delivery stride on his way to deliver the ball, the heavy wind, but the strikers and umpire saw one of the bail fall. Is that call and signal dead ball or not? Over.
Where did the bails fall off from, Mohammed?
The strikers end wicket, the strikers and umpire saw it. He immediately called and signaled dead ball.
100%. That's his job to do so. Either umpire can call and signal dead ball when either one or both bails at the striker's end fall off before the striker has had an opportunity to play at the ball. So that was a correct call by the striker's end umpire.
Over. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mohammed. Hope you're well there in beautiful New York.
Oh, it's very cold. It's raining. It's cold. It's chilly. This is weather for Abdullah. Abdullah like this weather. Very bad weather for 3 days. We have it straight. Yep.
No, no worries.
Let me
Summer
know
is
when you come
coming.
in. Let me know when you come in New York. Don't forget.
We will let you know, Mohammed.
Okay, Abdullah.
Hope to see you
Thank-
soon.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Keep well. Right. I see there's a comment from Umesh saying 5 penalty runs was given. I'm not sure what that refers to, but I do believe we've covered all the scenarios thrown at us this evening. So I will take this opportunity to thank all of you for your attendance and your interaction. We will reconvene tomorrow, same time, same place, same meeting link. Have a good day further. Vic, you want to say hi? Please unmute your microphone, or are you just waving goodbye? I think it is thank you and goodbye. See you all tomorrow.